Sorry to break up the conversations. Everyone's been chatting, and that's really awesome to see and really awesome to have. Got it. Okay. We got it. All right. Yes. Okay. I just got our. So hey everyone, thank you for coming. Welcome to our July meetup. It's great to see so many faces that I haven't seen in a long time, a couple new ones. So really excited to have you here. We've got a great talk that I've gotten to see the slides for, and it's on something that I've seen a lot of struggles around. So I'm really excited to hear what Nanthakumar has to say about that. So I wanted to say a few things about the meetup, thank a few people, and then we'll get into it. So the first is, if you're not following us on Twitter, we're at React Denver, and we're starting to use that more, and that's going pretty well. The other big thing is, I'll just apologize real quick for tonight's meetup. I was a little slow to get some announcements out, but it came together really quickly, and thank you all for making it after for the details not being up right away and all that. And one of the biggest things is that we've actually been planning for a while to move off Meetup. And Meetup's pretty great. We've got something like 4,600 members, something like that, on Meetup, which is a lot. And it's a great way to discover events and all that. But it's, from an organizer's perspective, it's been really challenging to use. It took me like an extra 10 minutes to update the August Meetup, which is like a locked event that's redirecting everyone to where we're moving. So thank you for bearing with us as we make those changes. One of the other challenges we had was last month, I didn't get the Zoom link out to everybody. So the people who were remote kind of missed out, and it was hard to connect on that. So we loved that through the pandemic, we kept going online, and we want to keep that. We want to stay in a hybrid mode going forward. Do things in person, have pizza, meet each other, and still connect online. We have people connecting from really around the world. I've made some friends through this meetup during the pandemic that I'm really happy are here on the Zoom. I'm happy they can continue to participate in this community. With all that said, going forward, to stay connected with what's going on, we're using Twitter, we're using our Discord community, and we're continuing to use Zoom to connect and host these things. And we also still have our YouTube channel for, if you completely missed the event and you want to see our talks, you can catch it all up on YouTube and see what has been said and shared. And the event that is currently on Meetup right now is, for next month, is really a placeholder. You can't RSVP to it. It's got these updates, it's got these links, redirecting people. So that's just there for like telling anybody that's not here what to do and how to join our Discord. And from now on, we'll be using Tito. I've used Tito as a conference attendee for years, and it's been fantastic. I'm learning how to use it as an organizer. And the more I like tweak little knobs and configure settings, the more I find it just does everything for you and makes it really easy to make sure the details go out and all of that. And so that was something that I had to learn last month. And yeah, it's going pretty well considering everything else. One more thing. We are always looking for speakers. And if you'd like to speak, we have a tweet. I'm going to pin this after the meetup to a Google form to sign up to say, hey, I got an idea for talk. And this is what it is. Here's my contact info. And we'll follow up from there with you. One thing we've been doing is creating like a private channel in Discord with the speaker and the organizers. And then we can just talk about what you want to talk about, view slides, give you input, or just make sure that we're all good on logistics. All right, one more thing before we get into the talk. We didn't lock in, like we have a couple sponsors that have supported our meetup, but we didn't like get in touch with them and arrange like to figure out who is exactly sponsoring this one. And so I thought we'd take a moment to give a shout out to Technical Integrity. They reached out to us, Dave Mayer of Technical Integrity reached out to us a couple months ago and said, hey, we'd like to support your meetup. You know, we've got some open roles. And I was like, not sure about working with a recruiter. Like I usually am not sure about working with any recruiter. And then I remembered his name, like, wait, your name is Dave Mayer. And I remembered how well like recommended he comes from a lot of people I respect. So I started talking to him, and he's fantastic. His team's fantastic. And they've got React roles and React Native roles kind of at any given time. They've got something. And they seem to be working with some really good companies. You can go to their website at technicalintegrity.com. They've got a jobs page. You can search for things. I checked in with Dave last night, and he said that they've got a remote senior full stack TypeScript JavaScript developer role. I saw in here lots of testing, TypeScript and React, and lots of good things there. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's what I used to do and what I could see a lot of people being interested in. So definitely check them out. Big shout out to them for sponsoring us on a recurring basis. They're kind of just like giving us a little bit every month to help keep things running, in addition to our bigger sponsors. So want to give them a shout out this month. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Nisanthan Nanthakumar. He comes to us from Sentry, and Sentry flew him out here to share a talk that, like I said, I'm really excited about. And with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Sorry, quickly to interject. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Charlie.
The bathrooms. Hi, I'm Charlie. I work in this building. Thank you all for coming. The bathrooms, which are kind of hard to find, but if you go back out the way you came and then cross back across the foyer, you'll see them. It's a little bit of a walk, but you don't need to like badge anything. So feel free to holler if anyone needs it.
Anyway, yeah, right. Wait, so what do I need to do here?
Ooh, connect with the Zoom.
Okay.
I'll drop you a fresh link in the Discord.
Technical issues. All right, let's go. Launch.
No worries.
Someone in the chat said they're digging the recursive camera.
Yes.
Sign into the account that received an invitation to the session.
I'd say mute your mic and mute your camera off, and then just see if you can share your screen. If that doesn't work, I'll issue that message.
Also turn your audio off.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay. So Mike's already blocked from settings, but oh, nice. Okay, cool. All right. Looks like it's working. Cool. All right. Hi. So my talk is worry-free dependency upgrades. What? Oh. Okay, cool. So my name is Nisanthan. I'm an engineer at Sentry. This talk will also be available on the site, on my website, and then Twitter stuff. So I work at Sentry. So what is Sentry? We are an open source error and performance monitoring software. It's on GitHub. Feel free to use it and check it out. Also self-hosted. And we are monolith Django and React app. We do have some like language specific SDKs and then like a Rust CLI, but primarily it's a Django and React app. Yeah, so this is what it kind of looks like. The problem that we're kind of facing, we want to upgrade Storybook, and we're on React 17, and we're also on React Router version 3. Storybook, the latest version, doesn't support React Router version 3, so we need to upgrade to version 6. The problem is React version 3, or sorry, what? Router version 3 kind of pushes us to use with router higher order components, but that's been deprecated in version 6. And version 6 tells us to use hooks and, for example, like use location, use navigate. And you might be just thinking to yourself, hey, just like bump the version and migrate everything in one PR. The problem is like we have 100+ engineers in like a whole bunch of different time zones and 1,700+ like React components. Not all the components use with router, but most of them do. And there's a significant subset that requires like the props of router through prop drilling. So there's potential issue of like us missing components or like an old PR getting merged that's using with router and causing issues in production. So the process I kind of put up is we're going to create our own homegrown hooks using React Router version 3, sorry, and then replace the usage of the higher order components with our own hooks, and then change the import path and of the hooks to version 6. So thankfully, we're on like version 17 of React, so we have access to the context API. So we're able to like create a new context provider and store like the props of React Router there. And then for each of the hooks that we're creating, we want to like mimic the API of version 6. So as you can see, like we're just taking the subset of location from router and stuff like that. And so we only want to build as necessary. We're not trying to replicate the entire library. We only want the pieces that we need to push us to version 6. And then we can kind of use the full functionality of version 6. So in our case, we just want use location, use navigate, use params, and use routes. So now that we have our hooks, the next step is we want to educate the rest of the team that, hey, we have these hooks and please stop using with router, higher order component, and also ideally set up guardrails to prevent people from using the with router higher order component. For us, we do ship emails. So we send out an email to everyone in engineering and product. And I also wrote out some ESLint rules to prevent people from importing the with router higher order component in new components. This step is probably the longest step. So we stopped new components from using this, but we got to replace all of the existing usage, right? So got the work cut out for you. After that, pretty straightforward, change the import path and bump the version. Still might have the same issue of people using the old hooks here, but we'll still keep those around. We'll monitor the release for errors, plug for Sentry. You can monitor the release here. And then as long as everything goes well, then we can just delete the old hooks. And now we're on version 6 with no production issues. Yeah, questions? Go for it.
What's like the time frame in your mind on this whole process? Like how long does something like this take?
So this is kind of like nobody really wants to take responsibility for upgrading stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm on the front end TSC, so I kind of just made this into like a personal side project. Yeah, so it's on top of my own work, and then like whenever I feel like, oh, I'm kind of bored, or like I just want to break from working on this, I'll just like refactor a component and make a PR. It'll take about 2 months, like just because we have so many components, like 1,700, right? So there's that. But yeah, that's just like my experience so far. Yeah. But, yeah. Any other questions? Go for it.
I guess while you're refactoring all that, are you building out like maybe some kind of method for a future upgrade in case you have to do this again with another version, or are you thinking about like the future, or are you just like band-aiding this right now?
This was designed specifically because like a core functionality of React Router was deprecated, which in my mind was kind of like not a great move on their part without giving us like some forward of like backward compatibility, like I don't know, right? And because this is such a huge task, we've kind of just delayed it, and we've kind of just been with React Router version 3 for like, oh my god, like 5 years now. Yeah, but since like now we're on 7, we migrate to 17, we did like this full TypeScript conversion, and we want to upgrade like everything else because security updates and stuff. So it just has to get done, but in a safe way. Yeah, go for it.
Is there a point where like part of your production will be stopped because of like it just not working and just not being compatible with like?
Sorry, part of production gets stopped?
Or just like Will like any of your products just like not work because of like the version that you're on right now, or like, is
Because
that
we're on version 3? No. It's primarily because we have a design system in Storybook, and if we want to upgrade that, like it's just like a cascading thing, right? Where it's like we want to upgrade this other thing, but this core foundational thing, because it's so behind, it's preventing us from moving forward. So just has to get done. Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
How was your unit testing affected? Like, did you have to rewrite a whole bunch of your unit testing?
So yeah, that's another thing that we've been kind of doing. So we've been moving away from Enzyme towards React Testing Library. So React Testing Library is more about like what's the visual state rather than like what's the actual component doing, right? Like we're not going into the state of the component, rather than we're just kind of seeing what's visually rendered. So it's much more straightforward, right? Like it doesn't really affect this as much. So yeah.
Love that you did some ESLint rules for this. Did you already have a package that you had set up for other things, or did you have to create one?
Sorry, could you see the first part?
I love that you're using ESLint and that you wrote some custom rules.
Yep.
Did you have an existing package that you were able to add rules to that was already like sort of just set up for the projects? Or did you have to like create a package?
No package necessarily. They have like a thing called like no import something that, and you can specify
existing ones.
Yeah, you just you can set like, hey, for this library, I just want you to prevent using with router, and then for the existing usage, you got to like disable ESLint rule. But then for any new component being created, then it'll pop up like, hey, please don't do this. Yeah.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's kind of the-
That's strategy.
Any other questions? Cool.
Are there any other like strategies that you found were useful, like outside of the shipping emails, to like educate people on like the change? Or
Not really. I feel like because there's just so many people now. It used to be so much easier when there was like, I don't know, like 30, 50 people. Like we could just kind of like blast a Slack message to a channel, be like, hey, please don't do this, right? But now that everyone's in different time zones and stuff like that, shipped email is kind of like the best way to deal with these types of things. But also we have like front end TSC where people are from different time zones there and like the different offices, so they can kind of like broadcast the message down to like their own teams, right? So yeah, that kind of helps. Yeah.
The calculation for you wanting to update the tool for the design system is ultimately like individuals yourself need to go through 1,700 components to update, rather than like telling owners of those components or other teams like, can I please have some help on this?
Yeah, so it's not like that bad. Like yeah, most of the time like the specific teams will do it themselves, right? We kind of shame people into doing it a little bit, you know, like hey, like during front end TSC, it's like, this is how much is left kind of deal, right? We did the same thing with TypeScript conversions, and that was pretty effective for us. So, and we're kind of doing the same thing with the enzyme conversions as well. So that's, but yeah, it's not like just me doing it by myself. That'd be kind of sad, but yeah.
2 months sounded pretty quick when you said you're doing it all by yourself.
Yeah, like I'm not like.
Well, it was when he said it was a side project.
Yeah, well, like I mean, it's like I don't know. We just kind of want to get it over with because it's like, I don't know, version 3. Because like I'm assuming things are just going to keep moving forward more and more, and it's just going to get worse the longer we are still here. So yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
It's great. Thank you.
Was there any questions in chat?
Oh, yeah, Jeff, is there anything?
No,
Cool.
but I was just gonna say I've just upgraded to Router 6 myself from 5, and I mean that's not a huge leap, but I do commiserate with the ESLint rules and spam messages with, hey, things are changing, be aware. there's no way I've ever seen to future proof because we can't predict the future. If we could, then I'd be a much better software engineer. I wouldn't need Sentry. Sorry. I love Sentry. We use it all the time. But that being said, you know, your one thing I do is in your ESLint messages, you can actually provide useful feedback as the message. So not just it's a error, you can actually say like, hey, per XYZ documentation, like this is how you move forward. So you're giving users feedback as to how to solve that problem without them having to ping you on Slack constantly because you made a rule.
Yeah. Just to tag on there, like all of the stuff is public. So there are like open like PRs you can just like search up, and we've done exactly as Jeff said, where we put like error messages as well. So yeah, everything's totally public on the Get Sentry repo. So yeah, you can use it as a case study for your own companies. Okay, upgrade React Router. Yeah,
I'm sure Michael Jackson, Riot Florence would love to hear about this too. Considering now that's going to be Remix Router ever so more closely as we move forward.
You just shuddered.
Yeah, I'm not. What that? Yeah, that's another day's problem.
Another engineer's problem.
Yeah, it's another engineer's problem.
That's why I was asking about setting up for future changes and versions as well.
Oh, I see. Nah, we're gonna be on React Router 6 for another 5 years. Don't worry. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be cool to ask. Has anyone got any like big dependency upgrades that they're doing or need to do at some point? Somebody's got something. Everyone's just on React 18 already and the latest whatever. Jeez.
You just
Need to hire some more engineers in Denver.
Yeah.
I do have one. Like we use Storybook too. I don't think Storybook like is pushing us to upgrade anything. We're not on React Router though, but we're on React 16 across lots of projects. And what's the other one? The other big one? Oh, Emotion. We're using Emotion, and we love Emotion for what it does. And we're on 10. And going from Emotion 10 to 11 has been, that actually was the most work. It turned out, like breaking changes or reconfiguring builds. I don't even actually know. I've not do too much of it.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of work. And we also upgraded 16 to 17. A lot of people got scared going from 16 to 17. That part wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But it got like everyone's attention. And people were like, no, we're shipping products. And we're like, got a timeline for release in September. And it's initially like really, people were resistant. And one thing we learned was if you're going to try to move everyone forward together, because like you don't want multiple versions of React, multiple versions of Emotion, and sometimes they can conflict, and you got build issues, you got all these other problems. Like telling people as soon as possible that hey, we probably need to go to this new version. That'd be a good idea. And we're starting to formalize like a plan where okay, React 18 is out. We're just dropped in May. We should probably move to that soon. So like,
Wasn't it so bad to go from 16 to 17?
That wasn't bad. 16 to 17 wasn't bad. Like React 17 added no new features. I think it changed how things were mounted and like a couple other things. So there were like very few touch points we had to go in and change the code. Emotion was a little bit bigger, but like it definitely like it caught some teams off guard. We're talking about like 100+ teams working across many different projects. And some of them are like they didn't plan for the work. If something comes out of left field like, oh, we're not going to support shared dependencies such as React 16 anymore. You need to move to 17 if you want to get it from like window and not have to bundle it yourself. That was part of it too. So yeah, but I love what you said about literals and
Yeah, guardrails.
yeah, guardrails. Yeah, make sure people don't use the deprecated APIs anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
People just forget sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got work they've been doing for a couple of months maybe, or they're coming back to, and it's on PR or something like that, or they just don't know.
Yeah.
They're just using the code that's already out there.
Yeah, copy paste.
Yeah.
That's the way you work. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, close this up.
Before we wrap up the like kind of live events, we're just hanging out. I want to give one big thank you to Charlie and the trade desk for hosting us here. I remember people like coming in and saying, "Wow, this space is awesome," and it really is. So this has been fantastic to be here. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you to and this. I got a shout out to Michael. He's at Zoom and he's been our friend there. It's really helped us out with getting all this going. So thank you. All right, let's hang out.
That's not. Here.